Hello everyone, thank you for taking some time off your work to join our webinar. I'm Meenakshi Sundaram, one of the product marketers for Zoho Vault, and I'll be running you through today's session where we'll be talking about how you can maximize security and get the best out of Zoho Vault. So feel free to post your questions at any point of this webinar, and this will help us keep this session really interactive. Okay, so we'll begin with an overview of the different password management methods in practice, followed by a brief introduction of Zoho Vault for our new users. We'll then see a bunch of advanced features in detail, which I'll be walking you through the step-by-step process, and I'll also help you get started with these features. Later, we'll see how you can restrict a few users from accessing certain features of Zoho Vault using our fine-grained controls. And before we open up for your questions, we'll be sharing the latest updates about Zoho Vault's upcoming UI. So we've got a lot in store for you guys, and it's really going to be exciting. And ensure that you stay till the end to watch all the new updates. All right. If you see over the last decade or so, we've seen numerous methods of authentication come up. While a few of these authentication methods like single sign-on, token-based authentication, and biometric authentication have caught on, passwords still remain one of the most commonly used method of authentication, right? Security experts have been trying to eliminate passwords for decades, but again without success. This is mostly down to the ease of using passwords and the simplicity in managing them using tools like Zoho Vault. For people new to Zoho Vault, Vault is Zoho's in-house password manager come single sign-on solution. So let's quickly touch base with the integral features of Vault before we dedicatedly step into the advanced features. So what can Zoho Vault do for you? With Vault, you can securely store all your passwords without worries as they are encrypted in the client side with AES 256 encryption. And additionally, as a password manager, Vault secures not only your web credentials but also all your sensitive data like your license details, bank account or healthcare details, your social security number, server credentials, SSH keys, certificates, and a lot more. In fact, you can even secure your critical documents and notes with Zoho Vault. And sharing passwords with Vault is easy and extremely secure as well. Users can share their passwords with one of four different sharing permissions like one-click login, view, edit, and manage permissions. The one-click login privilege restricts users from viewing passwords in plain text, and it allows users to only log in and access the accounts without accessing the password. So this is a commonly used functionality via users. And if you see, the users with the view and edit permissions can view and edit the passwords accordingly, whereas the users with the manage permission get complete access of the password. So this allows them to even delete it or share it with others in the future. So whenever you're sharing passwords, ensure that you share them with the right permissions and privileges with Zoho Vault. And users can directly log into their web accounts in a single click using our browser extensions as well. So, all of our users might know this. You no longer have to remember your passwords or enter your credentials while authenticating to online accounts. Similarly, Vault also supports single sign on for almost 100 plus pre configured applications and unlimited number of applications that support SAML 2.0 configuration. So this is another feature that simplifies your authentication even further that you should definitely try out. And when it comes to onboarding and offboarding, you have the option to add or remove multiple users as and when needed to your Zoho Vault account. What this does is it massively helps you during the onboarding and offboarding process, and not only then, but also whenever an employee leaves the company on bad terms, you can immediately acquire all the passwords owned by them and revoke their access to Vault instantly. And this prevents them from accessing any of your business passwords, thereby ensuring that only the right personnel have access to all of your critical data. And you can also track every action that is made in Zoho Vault in real time and see live records of who has accessed which password at what time. And this can help you monitor all the sensitive actions that happen in your Zoho Vault account in real time. Additionally, you also have the option to configure alert notifications that will notify whenever any critical events get triggered in Zoho Vault. This is something that we'll be talking about at the end of the session, but a brief info about it would be, say for example, whenever your users or passwords get deleted or modified, you can configure to receive certain alerts from Zoho Vault that will be sent over to your email directly. So this way you can even monitor critical actions when you're away from your Zoho Vault account. And you can also customize Vault to specify what features your organization does and doesn't need. For example, you have the option to prevent some of your users from storing personal passwords, and you can also enable IP restriction to prevent users from accessing your Zoho Vault account from outside permitted IP ranges and so on. This is something that will be covered by the fine-grained control section that we'll be seeing today at a later part of the session as well. So yeah, there's a lot more that you can do with Vault. And finally, with Vault, you get multiple visual reports about user activities that can be viewed specific to, say, a single user or as an organizational overview. For example, you can monitor a particular user's activity and see all the passwords that they access regularly, or you can see all the unchanged and weak passwords in your organization. So what this does is it will help you frame a proper password policy for your organization and enforce it across all users to prevent users from storing weak passwords in your organization, which is more or less the cause for a lot of password breaches. Alright, now you might want to know how secure Zoho Vault is after exploring all of its benefits, right? Zoho Vault follows the host proof hosting concept. So this ensures that all confidential data get encrypted and decrypted in the client side with AES 256 encryption using the user's passphrase which only the user knows. So even Zoho has no access to data that you store, meaning that nobody except you can decrypt them. There's no way that even Zoho can access whatever you have secured with Zoho Vault. And all these encrypted data are securely transmitted over SSL and stored in Zoho servers. And we also have multiple data centers across the globe to help comply with a lot of your regional security policies. For example, an EU user can sign up to Zoho Vault from zoho.eu/vault, and their data will reside only in our EU data centers. Similarly, you can choose a data center of your preference to keep your business compliant with the regional laws that you'll have to abide by. And also, notably, Zoho Vault is GDPR compliant as well. Alright, so that was a quick introduction to Zoho Vault and its security architecture. Now let's move on to the important part of our session, the advanced features of Zoho Vault. Okay, in my opinion, Zoho Vault is probably the only password management solution that offers extensive features and restrictions to improve your password security. And we'll be talking about just that in our upcoming slides, starting with emergency access. Okay, picture this. Your employee is on vacation and they're unreachable. Let's say you're in the middle of a business emergency and you desperately need an enterprise password that was accessed only by this particular employee. Since they haven't shared it with anyone else, it leads to a business crisis, right? So this is where Zoho Vault's emergency access comes into the picture. Zoho Vault's emergency access is well equipped to manage situations like these by allowing you to add trusted people from your organization as emergency contacts. So these emergency contacts have the authority to declare something called an emergency. So what happens during an emergency? During an emergency, these contacts will be able to temporarily access all enterprise passwords that have been stored in Zoho Vault, even if they have not been shared with you. So this helps you get out of a potential crisis, allowing business to continue without hindrance, right? So this is something that's very key and really important in the modern era. So we'll see how you can go about implementing this. Setting up an emergency access is pretty straightforward. You will have to select emergency access from the settings tab and click add. Here you can create an emergency contact by selecting a trusted user, or you can even nominate yourself or anyone whom you trust enough to add as an emergency contact. Just remember that these people will have temporary access to all your business passwords if they declare an emergency. So ensure you select only trusted contacts as your emergency contact. And again, on the screen, you can specify how long the emergency access will be valid for these emergency contacts in hours, and then click Save. Any newly added emergency contact can declare an emergency only after 24 hours. So you can track the user's status to check if their access is active, and if their access is active, you can just immediately declare an emergency. How do you declare an emergency? Okay, any newly added emergency contact can declare an emergency only after 24 hours. So you can track the user's status to check if their access is active, and if they are allowed to declare an emergency, you can very well enable them to do so. So once the user's access gets activated, they'll see a tab called emergency access, and from there they can declare an emergency at any point. So users can temporarily access all unshared passwords provided they give a valid reason and click on declare emergency from the screen. And once an emergency is declared, you can see the validity of the emergency access from the top banner, and also end the emergency whenever your job's done by clicking on end emergency. So when you click end emergency, you will be returning all the enterprise passwords that you previously did not have access to. All right, that's about emergency access. And before we conclude on the emergency access part, it's important to know that all users in the organization will be notified whenever an emergency contact gets added or whenever an emergency is declared. And also, these actions are well tracked in the audit section as well. So this is an additional note for all the admins that are listening to this out there. Okay, now moving on. We know that you cannot monitor your Zoho Vault account 24/7, right? There might be a lot of sensitive actions happening around the clock. Your users might need access to critical stuff at any point of the day. So this is something that might concern you at times, right? There might be certain events that you would want to be notified to. If something goes wrong, you might want to look into it right away. So this is something that can be done with the help of critical alert notifications from Zoho Vault. So you can configure your account to receive instant or periodic email alerts for all sensitive actions that get carried out in Zoho Vault, like your secret deletion, user addition, chamber addition, and a lot more. So this will help you track critical events that happen in your organization and even help you act on them immediately, which will keep all insider threats at bay. So let's see how you can implement this. Getting started is very simple. You'll first have to select notifications from audit and click add to create a custom alert. Now from this screen, you'll have to specify who needs to be notified and how often. You can alert all admins or selective users through email. So when you select users, you'll have to manually enter the names or the email addresses of the users that you'd like to notify. And then you'll have to specify how often you would like to receive these alerts. You can either receive these alerts instantly or periodically at a time of your choice. So after selecting the frequency of the notifications being sent to you, you can just select the different events to be notified for from the different events mentioned below. For example, you can get notified for chambers getting deleted, your SSO applications getting deleted, or your secrets getting deleted, your secret type getting deleted, and so on. So select whichever option you feel is something you'd like to be notified for, and then click on save. This will update all your changes and a custom alert will be created as specified. You can either edit or disable this alert at any point in the future according to your needs. So this is about alert notification. So you guys should definitely go and check this out. Now, moving on to sharing critical passwords. So, sharing critical passwords is a really sensitive topic for a lot of you guys. I mean, a lot of you might use critical shared passwords on a daily basis within your teams, I believe, and these passwords might often be accessed by multiple people without restrictions, right? This also makes it hard to track every user's access to see if the password was accessed for a valid reason or not. Uh, Zoho Vault's access control feature is something that helps you address this particular issue. So, with access control, you can prevent users from accessing a shared password without valid approvals in place. Any secret that you enable with access control can only be accessed after the users raise proper access requests with valid reasons along with it, and then get the approvals whichever are necessary. So let's see how you can implement this, how this will help you safeguard all your shared passwords. Okay, to enable access control on a particular secret, click on the secret that you like to enable it with, and then you can select either the configure access control icon that you see on the right on your screen right now, or you can click on more actions and select configure access control. Now you can select the different administrators that can approve a user's access request apart from you. Let's say you have about 5 to 10 administrators in your organization. If you feel that you should allow a few administrators to approve these access requests when you're unavailable as well, you can do so and select the different admins that can approve the access request for your particular passwords. And you can also selectively exclude few users from this constraint. If you feel your colleague is someone whom you can trust, and this particular colleague who is someone who wouldn't access the password without valid reasons, or if you would like to exclude your senior management, feel free to exclude users from being affected by access control from this option. And also you can make certain approvals mandatory. For example, you can grant the access to these passwords only if at least two admins approve these access requests. So this is another feature that you can enable. Or alternatively, you can automate the approvals on weekdays, weekends, or during a specific time. Maybe if you guys have a peak time when you would not want your users to wait for access approvals, you can allow users to access passwords just during that specific time without approvals. And again, you can also integrate with one of the many help desks that are available in Zoho Vault. We've integrated Zoho Vault with a few popular help desks like ServiceNow, Zendesk, Service Desk Plus, and Zoho Desk, and a lot more. You can just go ahead and check that out. You can integrate Zoho Vault with such help desks and allow users to access passwords only when a valid ticket ID is provided. So this is something that has been discussed in a separate webinar altogether, and I'll be passing on the link to that at the end of this session. Now, after you're done enabling access control on your secret, all users that previously had unrestricted access to the password will now have to raise an access request, and only then they'll be able to proceed with accessing this password. Once the access request gets raised, they'll have to wait for the corresponding approvals, and then they'll be able to access the password. So whenever users click on request, they have an option to either request for immediate access with their valid reasons, or they can request for approval in advance. Let's say they have a scheduled activity for server. Let's say a particular server would want to go through some change at a scheduled time in the future. They can get approval in advance by entering a valid reason as well. Once the approval is in place, you can see that the option will change from request to checkout now. So users can click on checkout to access the password for a specific time. So this will display the password details based on the access permissions with which the passwords have been shared previously. And if you're done with your work, you can always click on check-in to return the access of this password back to the owner of the password. So once you click check-in, you'll no longer have access to the password, and you'll have to again go through the request and approval process. So it's time consuming, so ensure you click on check-in only if you're done with your work. And yeah, you can track the status of all your access requests from the password access request section under settings. A request for approval will show all the requests that require your approval, and all your requests will be posted under your request. You can track the status of all the access requests that you've raised with the owner of the passwords. All right, so that was about sharing critical passwords with access constraints. Now moving on to periodic data backup. I'm pretty sure that you guys always know that it's really good to periodically back up your data to stay crisis ready. So you can do something like that with Zoho Vault as well. You can back up your Zoho Vault data on a daily or weekly basis and send these backup copies to your email or to popular cloud accounts like Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, OneDrive, Zoho Work Drive, and Amazon S3. So let's see how you can make that happen. So you can start with enabling backup from data backup option. Once you enable backup, by default, uh, the backup data of all users will be sent to the corresponding user's registered email address. So unless and until you select and enable one of the cloud services mentioned below, you will receive all your backup copies to the registered email address of the individual users. You can also prevent users from receiving passwords shared with them by enabling or disabling the include only the own secrets option. And if you'd like to go ahead and configure cloud backup, you can easily do so. It's a one-time configuration for the admins. And what this does is it allows users to sync their Zoho Vault account with their personal cloud services, I mean, cloud accounts from cloud services. And once that is done, your backup data will be sent periodically to a dedicated folder in your particular cloud account. So whenever cloud backup is active and it's configured properly, the backup will be sent to the cloud accounts. If it is incomplete or if there's any error during the configuration process, as a fallback option, we send the backup copies to your inbox as well. And it's important to note that all these backup copies are encrypted and can be unlocked only with your passphrase, so they are as secure as you can expect. Talking about the one-time configuration for cloud backup, an admin can complete this process with any cloud service of their choice by entering the client ID and client secret details. I'll again be sharing helpful links at the end of this session to help you complete this configuration. Okay, and once an admin completes the configuration, users can select and link their cloud accounts with Zoho Vault from Cloud Backup option that they'll see under the Settings tab. So these are all pretty straightforward and simple on-screen instructions that a user would have to follow. Once they click on the cloud service of their choice and select Generate Token, users can follow the instructions and link their account, their cloud account with Zoho Vault by granting the necessary permissions. And this will ensure that periodic backup copies of their Zoho Vault data get sent to a dedicated folder in their cloud account. Alright, now moving on to resetting passwords from Zoho Vault. So you can reset passwords of popular websites in a single click from Zoho Vault. I'm not quite sure how many of you have tried this feature, but yeah, you can feel free to do so for the list of websites that we already support. I'll pass on the list of websites at the end of this session. What you can do is you can just reset passwords for a lot of accounts by just simply clicking from Zoho Vault, and the new strong passwords that you add to your accounts will also be updated to your Zoho Vault account, and all of these actions will be audited as well. Okay, you can start off by clicking the change password button that you'll find corresponding to the secret that you select either in your web application, or even if you would like to reset your password from the browser extension, you can click on the secret and select the change password button corresponding to the secret found in your browser extension. You can see the progress on your screen when the password gets reset, and once this process gets completed, the new password will be automatically updated in Zoho Vault. Okay, so we saw a bunch of new features that might be really helpful for a lot of you guys, and I really hope you can make the most out of it. However, as an administrator, you might want to know if you can restrict a few users from accessing certain features. For example, you might not want every one of your user to get a backup copy of their Zoho Vault data, right? You might want to restrict certain people from accessing certain features. If you're asking if that's possible with Zoho Vault, yes, it is definitely. And to help you with that, we've got the fine-grained controls that can ensure that only selective users get access to certain features. So let's talk about that in detail. Let's see how you can restrict users from accessing certain features using fine-grained controls. Okay, you can access fine-grained controls from the admin tab, and from here you can make a lot of restrictions and modifications to your Zoho Vault account. For example, you can prevent users from accessing Zoho Vault from their mobile apps, or even prevent users from adding new secrets, and a lot more. So there's a bunch of operations that you can find here. You can tweak certain functionalities as necessary. This is some option that should be utilized by every admin that's listening to this, because it's really critical for your enterprise's security as well. So feel free to explore this option in detail, see which ones satisfy your business constraints well, and make the most out of it. Now, as promised, on to some interesting updates about our new user interface. So, a quick brief for our users who missed out on our previous webinar. If you guys didn't already know, Zoho Vault will soon have a refreshing new UI, and we are almost in the final stages of rolling the new UI out. We shared this information last month in our webinar, and if you guys missed out on that, here's a little sneak peek of the screens that you'll be seeing from our new UI. So here's a glimpse of how our new UI's dashboard would look. We've got a completely refreshed look for our dashboard. We have multiple key insights that an admin or an individual user can get from the dashboards. We have separate dashboards for your team as well as individual users. You can monitor each of these tabs. You can find out the different weak passwords that you find here, the different passwords that would be expiring soon, or you can also see the top 5 users that have strong security scores, and the top 5 users with a weak password score, and a lot more. So what this does is it will give you a complete picture of your organization's password security, and will instantly help you keep your organization safe as well. And this is how your secrets tab will look in the new UI. And another key update from our side regarding the new UI is that we've renamed a lot of terminologies to make them simpler and efficient. For example, secrets will now be passwords, chambers will now be folders, and your passphrase will become master password, and a lot more terms have become simpler and straightforward. This is to ensure that you guys have the perfect feel, and your users can quickly get onboarded and start using Vault right away. This will be really key when it comes to increasing users productivity as well. Speaking of productivity, we've combined 3 tabs that were earlier available in our existing UI, and we've combined the tools, admin, and settings tab together to form a new tab called settings that will comprise of all these features. This is to ensure that you wouldn't have to shuffle across different tabs. This will improve admin and user productivity as well. You can handle a lot of these operations from a single place, and it's also easier on the eye as well. So there's a lot more coming your way. This is just a glimpse of how a new UI would look. We would be having our betas going out by the mid of November, and interested users can definitely sign up for the beta program. And if you'd like to enroll yourself for the beta program, here's the link that you can make use of. You can very well sign up for our beta program to get notified whenever we release our new UI's beta. So exciting times lie ahead, and another key update would be that we're in the process of revamping our browser extensions as well. These browser extensions are gonna get much faster and more efficient. There are a lot more new features gonna come out with the new browser extensions that are getting revamped right now. All our extensions are getting revamped, and you can expect a beta version for all these extensions by the end of December or early January. So yeah, in about a couple of months you'll be having a lot more new features and updates from us. You would definitely want to try out all these beta versions of these products, if I'm not wrong. So feel free to sign up for the beta program using this link that you see on your screen. All right, if you're done with that, before we conclude and open up for questions, you can just access all these help documents and webinars using these useful links. You can, get more insights on how these features work, how you can set up these features according to your enterprise's requirements, and so on. So yeah, and if you guys have any questions at any point, you can always write to us at support@zohoworld.com. And even if you have any feedback about the new UI or about this session, you can always write to support@zohoworld.com. We'll be happy to assist you at any point and get all your queries answered. Thank you so much, guys. It was really amazing to host all of you in this session. We really look forward to having you guys again for another webinar in the near future. Thank you and have a nice day.